or Jax Plus. Presented by Farah and Farah, featuring 1010XL.
And welcome to Week 3 under the Friday Night Lights here on 4 Plus. We are presented by Farah and Farah with Justin Barney of Channel 4. I'm the hacker Ryan Green of 1010XL. And Justin, by far and away, the biggest Friday night of the season is about to get underway.
Yeah, it's a game I really wanted to see last year. It was our game of the week last year. And, of course, Bulls and St. Augustine rained out. The monsoon, I think, dropped anchor over Foots-Brumley Stadium last year, and there was no way that game was going to come off. They weren't able to reschedule that. So we're getting a continuation of that. I think last year would have been a great game, too, because St. Augustine had Lachlan Hewlett, they had Carl Jenkins Jr., had a lot of veteran guys on that team who are now playing in college. So a little bit different. I think Bulls has the upper hand in terms of talent and college guys in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out.
That is the Channel 4 game of the week. We'll take a live look in on that one in just a little bit. But I think you look at it from around the state, Justin, there may not be a better game in the state of Florida tonight, nevertheless Northeast Florida, than what we're seeing out on San Jose Boulevard right now.
Yeah, great matchup. You know, St. Augustine only has one state championship. It's played for 3 state championships, won one of those under Coach Joey Wiles. Actually played for 4 state championships, I believe. 1 for Braddock, 3 for Wiles, and only won one of those, but perennially one of the best teams year after year after year. Last year made it to state semifinals, lost to Plantation American Heritage. So St. Augustine just one of the best coach teams when Joey Wiles, certainly when he was there, and then Brian Braddock, the continuation of that. And then Bulls goes without saying. I think Bulls and Matt Toblin have, if not the best overall, the aggregate coaching talent on that staff in town. They are loaded with guys on that staff with big-time knowledge.
You know, and as we take a live look in, I want to get back to last week's action in a moment, but a live look in on the game of the night, the Channel 4 game of the week with Bulls and St. Augustine. Off the top of my head, we got 2 Miami commitments in this game. We got 2 Ohio State commitments in this game. Mix in a Clemson commitment in this game. The talent on the field tonight is incredible.
Yeah, talent on the field, and St. Augustine has moved the ball extremely well. I think there was a touchback to start the game, and they have moved it all the way down the field. We're looking in here. Our photographer, Chris Smith, doing a good job out there, steady on the camera. And Brenton James, I was curious to see how Brenton would play in this game because he is a first-year starter. But, man, look at that. Finds Samorian Wingo, and Samorian Wingo is in the end zone. And how about that? St. Augustine open and drive of the game. Samorian Wingo in for 6. Brenton James continues his strong start to the season. So Yellow Jackets march right down the field on that talented Bulls defense. And we got a 6-0 St. Aug lead. The Miami commitment, Samorian Wingo. Love his athleticism. He is a two-way star, phenomenal on the basketball court as well. And the Yellow Jackets pinning this PAT, about to go up 7-0 over the number 1 ranked in the home Bulls Bulldogs.
Yeah, Miami fans licking their chops. As like you said, Samorian Wingo, the man who just caught that touchdown, is headed to the U. Extra point is up, and it is, did we get I guess it's good?
Did we get a, yeah, 7-0. 7-0. So
in a minute 13 off the clock.
Wow. I thought coming into this game that Bulls' defense would have the upper hand. Got a chance to go out and talk to Matt Toblin at practice the other day, and he was worried about their offense. But I've talked to other couple coaches in town throughout this week just about this game, and they thought St. Augustine's offense was a little bit greener this year with the graduation of Lachlan Hewlett. He's now at USF. We saw him throw a touchdown on a fake punt last week in his first college football game. So the offense a little bit greener, but Brenton James shows why they expect a lot out of him. He's a big boy, too. First drive of the game, marches them 80 yards down the field and throws a touchdown pass to Samorian Wingo. And I think this is a matchup of 2 of the best receivers, not only in our area. I had Samorian Wingo, my number 1 receiver, Naeem Burrows, number 2 by the tiniest of margins. 2 of those guys, but they're 2 of the best in the state pass catchers.
We'll check back in on Bulls and St. Augustine in just a little bit. All right, we're 2 weeks in. By the way, a lot of 6:30 games have already kicked off.
Yep.
We'll give you a score update on those in just a moment. 2 weeks into the season. Surprises that you've seen 2 weeks in the regular season here in Northeast Florida?
Not a ton of surprises. I think maybe Nice in terms of how well they've adjusted to all those graduation losses. They had a ton of graduation losses. They were number 1 ranked team in the entire state of Florida last year, and I thought they were going to have a drop-off. And Colin Drafts, if he knows one thing, it's how to call offense and the guys to put in the right positions. And you've seen that in their start. They dropped 50 last week on Creekside, 38 in week 1 in our game of the week against Ponte Vedra. Yeah. So if there's one thing Colin Drafts knows, if the legend at Charleston Southern when he was up there in college as a quarterback, it is how to get the most out of his offense. And you got Robert Garth on defense over there calling plays and dialing things up, and they have looked extremely good. So I think Niche, to me, with what they graduated and the inexperience in a lot of positions that they brought back, I'm surprised in how well Nice has just kind of kept the assembly line going.
2 undefeated teams in Clay County going at it tonight in Fleming Island. And, of course, Oakleaf, Middleburg's also undefeated in Clay County. A good start for Clay County football this year.
Yeah, and if you could be the best team in Clay County, that's saying something. I think if you're the best team in Clay County, you've got a chance to not only have county bragging rights, but I think go a long way in the playoffs. Oakleaf and Fleming last year were at least 2 rounds deep into the postseason. Oakleaf expecting a lot more from them this year. They brought a lot back. You got Jack McKissick. I thought he was maybe the number 2 or 2B quarterback in the area behind Range's Timothy Cole coming into this year. So it's been a little bit of a slower start offensively. They've looked really, really good on defense to start the year, but Fleming Island has been a surprise to me. They put up 40 points last week, 40 the week before, and I think they've been a surprise, especially with graduating Sebastian Broughton, losing the top receiver Trace Burney to transfer. He's now at Oakleaf, so both those teams have been surprising. New coach at Fleming Island too, and Tom McPherson.
You know, we'll get to that score in a moment. Again, battle for Clay County tonight with Oakleaf and Fleming. You hate to say disappointments 2 weeks in, but on the other side, we've talked about some surprises. Let me throw Trinity Christian at you. Let me throw Bartram Trail at you. Combined records of 0-4. Yeah. You don't ever see that in these parts. Who are you more concerned about 2 weeks into the year?
Bartram Trail, for sure. I think they are in trouble. The offense has not been any kind of symmetry on that offense. Arthur Lewis has struggled to get going. Colson Baum at quarterback, he succeeded Jaden Weatherly, who we're seeing tonight at Bowles. He has not really ascended to that spot yet of being that bona fide number 1 guy. He actually got benched, I think, in a game maybe last week for a few series to try to get something going with that offense. And they've got a tough one against Ware County going on right now. Why don't we do a live looking at this game right now?
Look at the Bowles Bulldogs.
How about that? They are back in this stream right here. Naeem Burrows in the end zone right there, and then Samorian Wingo, a 14-yard touchdown catch on St. Augustine's first drive. Our photog Chris Smith followed that one really well. Thank you, Chris, for tracking that one. So elite wide receivers, Samorian. It does. We are sitting at 7-7 in our game of the week, Hacker. Good one developing here.
And let's not confuse things. These are 2 very good defenses.
Yeah, 2 good teams.
And in 2 minutes and 4 seconds, we've had 2 touchdowns. And again, 2 ridiculous talents at wide receiver. Wingo of St. Augustine going to Miami. Burrows of Bowles going to Clemson. If this keeps up for the next 2.5 hours,
hey, man,
we're all going to be the better for it.
I like it. You know, last week our game of the week was 14-12 final.
Yeah.
We were struggling to see some offense and short touchdown runs. Not a lot of explosive plays in that one, unless you like defense. We're already counting the explosive plays early. That was a 69-yard touchdown pass from Jaden Weatherly. 69-yard touchdown pass from Jaden Weatherly to Naeem Burrows. That's Naeem's 2nd touchdown catch of the season. And we were just talking about Bartram Trail. Jaden Weatherly transferred from Bartram Trail last year, so he's been at Bowles for a little bit of time. But I think Bartram Trail losing Jaden and coming in with Colson Baum, they just haven't been able to recapture that offense. And they played some tough teams out of the gate. They played Sumner, lost 27-17, got taken apart last week by Ponte Vedra. That was a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
And then they've got a tough one against Ware County tonight. Ware County is a monster. Bartram won that game up there last year on a walk-off 2-point conversion, but I think they were in a little bit better of a personnel situation last year than this year. So I think Ware County wins that game tonight pretty significantly. I still think that Bartram is in the mix for playoff spot, but they got to find some offense.
We are off and running. Week 3 under the Friday Night Lights on 4+. He is Justin Barney. I'm the Hacker, Ryan Green. A complete scoreboard update. There were a lot of Duval County home games tonight, so a lot of games started at 6:30. We got a lot of scores to update you on. We're presented by Farah and Farah. We're with you till 9 o'clock, and we're glad you're with us right here under the Friday Night Lights. Back here under the Friday Night Lights on 4 Plus, we'll bring you a Superior Fence and Rail where quality matters scoreboard update. Let's go live to Bolles High School out there on San Jose Boulevard, the Channel 4 game of the week. Bolles and St. Augustine, and Justin Barney, it's Samarian Wingo's world.
Man.
Everybody else is just living in it. A second touchdown of the night for the Miami commit, the St. Augustine wide receiver.
Yeah, 14-7, following everything for our live stream. So 14-7, we're 5 minutes into this game, Hacker, and Samarian Wingo is on pace for probably 9 touchdown grabs in this game if it keeps up. Man, the Miami commit has looked fantastic. 2 strikes by Brenton James, the quarterback, the big 6'5", quarterback out there. I thought he'd get rattled tonight. That is not the case. He's put 14 up on this Bolles, very good Bolles defense in the first quarter. It seems like everything has been kind of quick strike. They had a big run by Trendell Anderson to kind of get Bolles moving down the field to set up that Samarian Wingo touchdown, the first one. And then now the second one for Samarian Wingo. Man, he and Brenton are just having a big one. So 15-yard touchdown catch from Samarian Wingo. He had a 14-yarder to start it. So, man, Samarian Wingo having a career game and showing why I picked him as
And look at the crowd out there at Bolles. That's what Friday Night Lights is all about. Standing room only for this game. Love everything about this.
Yeah, and seen on the screen, if you're out the game, you'll notice, Bolles' big wall of champions where they had all their state championship facades and banners and everything. There's 11 championships represented on that board, as well as the #1 ranked team in the country by USA Today all the way back in 1996. That board, if you go out there, is gone now. I was out there the other day and talking to assistant coach Josh Hoekstra, and he goes, man, can you believe they took all of our championships away on the side? So tons of construction going on at Bolles, but man, a tradition-rich program as any in the country. Unbelievable program over there, and we are in for a good one tonight. Already 14-7 Jackets in the game of the week.
Let's go ahead and look around some other scores in Northeast Florida. A couple of state championship head coaches going at it. David Penland and University Christian against Bobby Ramsey and Jackson. UC an early 13-0 lead in the second quarter.
Yeah, big win at Jackson. For Jackson, and you think Jackson not a traditional football power, and they haven't been since Kevin Sullivan left there. And last season in 2009 was the last time that Jackson started out 2-0 like they are this season. So Bobby Ramsey and company doing a good job starting out. But I think UC is just a little too much to bite off and chew for a younger Jackson team. But yeah, to your point, Hacker, 3 state championships in 5 tries for Mr. D3 over there at University Christian, and 1 for Bob.
Best from the state capital against one of the best from our area. Major bragging rights are on the line. How about St. Johns County? The Nice Panthers up 7-0.
Yeah.
All Lincoln's done, by the way, in their first 2 games is beat Niceville.
It's these local games, they mean a lot, but it's good for these teams who have serious state championship expectations, like the Nices, like the Mandarins, like the Brass. And playing gives Colin Drafts and company over there really something to kind of judge themselves on. That's not a local game.
We're going to get to your top 10 rankings in a moment. I have no doubt the Rains Vikings are very high on that list. They're playing Trinity Christian tonight. A very good football team, albeit an 0-2 start this year. Rains up early 7-0.
Yeah, and Jamal St. Cyr just texted me a pick 6 for the Rains Vikings. They're up 13-0 now over Trinity. And Trinity, I know people online have kind of made a lot about Trinity's 0-2 start, but hey, you lost to Bolles and you lost to a very good Ed White team in week 1. So I think the first half in both of those games for Trinity Christian was solid. You're up in the Ed White game 21-20 at half, and they pull away in the second half. You're banging with Bolles for half of each game, and you've just not gotten things to kind of stick. This is the toughest part of their schedule. I mean, after this for Trinity Christian, I think Trinity probably runs the table. Finishes 7-3 in the regular season. Last year they were 7-3 in the regular season and made the state semifinals. So I don't see anything changing for Trinity Christian. I think they struggle with these first 3 games like they have. They're going to lose tonight to Rains. I don't think there's a question there. But I do think Trinity turns it around. They'll play UC in the playoffs. They'll make the state semifinals again. Not a whole lot for Lynn Dormady and company to worry about.
One more score to update you on. We saw Sandalwood here last week lose to Rains 77-0. Again, another slow start, but again, playing Mandarin. You talk about Rains 1 week, Mandarin the next. I mean, good grief. Mandarin up 21-0 on Sandalwood.
Yeah, Kyle Ashley just texted me. He's out at that game right now. Will Jones, the nice fade catch from Knox Annis to put Mandarin up 21-0. 9 minutes left to go in the half, and Sandalwood, we'll get to them in a little bit, but that rivalry used to just be so good.
Yeah.
Mandarin, Sandalwood, and as rivalries kind of come and go,
that football tradition. Obviously, Sandalwood, as you said, is in a full rebuild right now. More score updates coming up in just a moment. In just a moment as well, we'll go back to Bowls, a live look. It's coming up in just a moment. In just a moment as well, we'll go back to Bowls, a live look in on St. Augustine and Bowls. Justin Barney, I have no doubt that both St. Augustine and Bowls are very high in your top 10 rankings this week.
What would give you that idea?
What we've seen in the first 8 minutes here.
Yeah, you're right. So my Super 10, not a lot of changes, not any changes if you look at my top 4 teams here. I had changes towards the back end of the county tonight again. I have Nice number 6. They moved up a spot. Bradford dropped down 1 spot for me this week just due to Nice, how well they played. Columbia knocked Ed White out of the 8th spot. Columbia's win last week over Coffee, to me, was one of the best that Brian Allen has had out there in quite some time. Coffee's a state opponent any year, and they did well. In the 9 and 10, of course, Ed White, they were off last week, so they slid down a spot, and then Fleming Island moved in after a big win over Riverside. So number 10 team.
See them against Fleming Island. I believe that
there's not a lot of tradition, and they brought the regional final team last year, third round of the playoffs. You bring back your starting quarterback, Jack McKissick. I think he had a phenomenal junior season. You add Trace Burney. You got guys like Chris Jules back, Mike Connor, and you have so many guys coming back that played big roles on that third-round playoff team last year. You got a good head coach in Christopher Foy. He's a program builder. Team last year. You got a good head coach in Christopher Foy. He's a program builder. And Grayson Howard at Jackson, when Coach Foy was there, would say he is a coach that makes you want to run through the wall for him. I mean, he's that type of guy. He fires you up. He's passionate about what he does. He gets the players to believe that they're capable of anything, and that is infectious for those guys. And that's why I'm higher on Oakleaf than I think some people are. We do a coaches rankings each week now. The coaches poll in Oakleaf has dropped a little bit back there, probably due to that sloppy game against Riverside in week 1 where they had a 9-point win but just did not look good. So it will be a test tonight for Oakleaf against Fleming.
Yeah, great teams, Oakleaf and Fleming. Tom McPherson back at the head coaching realm with Fleming Island, 2-0 versus 2-0 out there in Clay County. A quick update, Lincoln has added a field goal. Nice leads 7-3 over the Lincoln Trojans. Final thought before we go back to Bowls and St. Aug for a live look-in. Lake City, Columbia. On the radio side of things, Justin, that's a little bit outside of us. Obviously, Channel 4, you guys have Lake City in your viewing area. And Brian Allen, the job he's done out there is absolutely terrific. Like you said, big victory over Live Oak Suwannee, a rivalry victory in week 1. But that win over Coffee last week, as you said, that was an eye-opener.
Yeah, big time. And Coffee won that game going away last year and hammered Columbia last season. So I didn't have Columbia in my Super 10 to begin with. I had some Columbia fans message me on Twitter and saying, "You are an idiot. I can't believe you didn't have them."
You rile people up with those rankings.
You know, and the reason I didn't, because Columbia didn't play well in their kickoff classic against Oakleaf. Coming back, they had an okay season last year, and I'll preface it by saying Columbia was banged up and beaten up a lot of last year with players. So maybe I didn't grade them as high as I should have, because a lot of those guys, you had a lot of injuries last year. And then you added some players like Cam Mills from Mandarin was an absolute menace last year for Mandarin. He transferred out to Columbia. So Brian Allen, one of my favorite coaches to deal with. He is a straight shooter. He played at Columbia. He went on to start Florida State. He was drafted in the NFL. About one of the most down-to-earth guys. If you ask him a question, be prepared, because he will give you the answer whether you want to hear it or not. Let's do a live look in at this Bowls game right here as we're going back out, and look like Xander Edwards with a big touchdown run for Bowls. Doing a good job out there. Man, but Bowls is good. I think the best offensive line in the area. Xander Edwards, his dad Mark was a guy who played in the NFL for a little bit of time. So
we used to have Mark Edwards on the radio all the time.
So he's his shot that'll tie the game up. Chris Smith doing a good job, man. Good job out there tonight. It's tough to shoot in some of these games when you're trying to shoot for TV and live as well. So field goal or PAT is good. 14-14. We're on pace for about a 90-point game. 11 minutes into this game, and man, Hack, it has been it has been a shootout here on San Jose.
And look, I know we're going to talk about Brian Braddock coming up, the St. Augustine coach. I can assure you, Braddock, the coach of St. Augustine, Toblin, the coach of Bowles, they are defensive guys.
Yeah.
They're happy about their offensive production, but they're stewing right now at their defense getting torched like this.
You're right about that. Manny Wellington, the defensive coordinator at Bowles. Know Manny from his time. He played at Nice on a team that Matt Toblin was an assistant on with Craig Howard. So Manny was an unbelievable linebacker for that Nice State Championship team back in 2005. So he's not happy right now. But yeah, Braddock, a defensive guy, and those guys, Brian Braddock and Matt Toblin, go way back and to their battles when at Nice at St. Augustine. Brian was assistant at St. Aug. Matt was an assistant at Nice, and they've kind of continued that friendly rivalry. Very much respect between those two guys, and man, they're stewing a little bit from what you're seeing right now.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. I'm the hacker Ryan Green from 1010XL and 92.5 FM, and you're under the Friday Night Lights. Week 3 here in Northeast Florida. We got a really good one between Bowles and St. Augustine. Every game kicks off by 7:30. We'll give you scores throughout the night here as we roll on under the Friday Night Lights on 4+, presented by Farah and Farah. Back here under the Friday Night Lights on 4 Plus, presented by Farah and Farah, Justin Barney and the hacker Ryan Green with you. Again, the game of the night going on right now is the Channel 4 game of the night as we do another live look-in out on San Jose Boulevard, St. Augustine and Bowles. One of the best games in the state of Florida tonight. All tied up 14-14, Justin, in the second quarter.
Yeah, and St. Aug driving right here. Again, just started the second quarter. Brent James has got a good game going so far. 2 touchdown passes to Morian Wingo. Handoff right there to Darrell Preston Jr. He is stopped nowhere. And I think in this game what will happen eventually, I think Bowles has got the size. They've got the horses on the defensive side of the ball. I do think that will be noticeable in the second half. I do think that St. Augustine has had the way with them so far in terms of the quick passes and stuff from Brenton to Samorian and Julio Santiago, but I do think Bowles' size will eventually push St. Augustine into making a mistake in that second half. Seen it so many times. Teams that just have those quick starts and just can't sustain it, but a good one so far as we look in. And Brenton here on the keeper, and he does it with his legs, and man, we are
He gave him the hush sign, Justin. He gave the people in San Jose the hush sign out there. Wow.
Oh, and there's my buddy Ralph Pretty shooting photos for us tonight. So we got this game covered from end to end. Brenton James, what a game. And he is a big boy. I know you can't probably tell from just the stream angle, but he is a 6'5" quarterback, and he has got some skills, not only with his arm, but with his feet right there. And St. Aug first drive of the second quarter, second play of the second quarter, and pinned in this PAT right here, it is going to be 21-14. Teams have scored on every drive of the game, and it's 21-14 Yellow Jackets over the number 1 Bowles Bulldogs here 45 seconds into the second quarter. So, man, St. Aug is having its way with it, 21-14. 3 touchdowns responsible for Brenton James, 2 passing touchdowns to Morian Wingo, and that rushing touchdown right there. Great start.
Yeah, both punters can prop their feet up, enjoy a cold beverage, and just hang out because they have not been called on at all. You know, these two coaches, Matt Toblin and Brian Braddock, we talked about Toblin last week. Both of these guys have coached in state championship games. I asked you if you thought Toblin needed a state title to validate, whatever verbiage you want to use, his high school legacy. Same question with Brian Braddock. Braddock, I go back to when he was the head coach at Mandarin, and then he came to St. Augustine, replaced the legend Joey Wiles. And Braddock's teams are always so well coached, so disciplined. He's one of the longest tenured coaches in the area. Hasn't gotten the big one yet, as in a state championship. But where do you assess Brian Braddock in the last 15, 20 years among some of the better coaches in our area?
I think you've got to have the hardware in a sense. I think you've got to have that, and I'll draw the parallels between Brian Braddock, Daryl Sutherland, those guys. Sutherland, extremely well respected. Of course, he stepped down a few years ago from Bartram Trail. I would do coach rankings and poll the coaches before the season. Who's the best coach in the area? Always mention Daryl Sutherland because he was extremely well respected among his contemporaries. Very, very good guy, just a good human being, and I think a lot of the coaches respected that he ran his program the right way. Brian Braddock, cut from that same mold. Very good family guy, cut from the Joey Wiles coaching tree, has done things the right way, run a clean program, run a good program. But yeah, at some point you do, I know for Daryl, for every good thing about Daryl, the one thing on that was missing from his coaching resume was a state championship. They played for one state championship, got hammered by Venice, and never played for one again, never even got back to one. Brian has been there as a head coach. He's been in the state semifinals before too, including last year. But you've got to win that big one, and I think the same thing goes for Matt Toblin. He won a state championship as an assistant with Craig Howard at Nice. He's been to 2 state championship games with Bowles, lost both of them. You've got you got 11 state titles hanging over your back on the wall on Friday night. 10 of those by Corky Rogers. There's the expectation at Bowles to win a state championship.
And Toblin took Ponte Vedra to a state championship game too.
He did, and that was an unbelievable game. I was at that game. They played Plantation American Heritage team with Tyson Campbell, Pat Sertan, the second. The son just won Defensive Player of the Year last year. His dad was the coach on that team, unbelievable player of the Dolphins. So many good players on that team, and Matt Tobin's team was up 14-0 on them in the blink of an eye. ended up losing that game 35-33. So far, Matt Toblin's career, he's been extremely consistent, and he's got coaching talent on that staff. Josh Hoekstra took Clay to a state championship game. He's an assistant head coach. So much talent, but at some point you do have to win that game. And I think St. Augustine's a different story. You get there, you run a consistent program, you're in the playoffs every year. It's going to be tough for St. Augustine to win a state championship.
The state championship coaches in our area, two of them are playing against each other tonight. Bobby Ramsey's got a state title, David Penland, and of course the great Verlin Dormany. Is Toblin, if you had to say the next one in line, would it be Matt Toblin to get that next ring here locally?
Probably. I mean, if you're looking at everything is set up for Bowles this year to win a state championship. I think you've got the quarterback who moved in and transferred in there. You've got certainly the defense, the stars on defense, even though you can't tell by watching tonight because St. Augustine scored 3 touchdowns on them in about 14 minutes. But you've got everything set up for you. Funny things happen when you get late in the playoffs, right. But I do think Bowles is set up this year better than it's been in quite some time to bring home a state championship. I think that's the expectation. You got to perform, though. And the times that Bowles has been there under Toblin, they've not been able to perform. They've say imploded in the second. They struggled to close out Miami-Washington in their closest chance for a state championship game in the fourth quarter. I think if Matt and the Bulldogs get back there, maybe a different story because you've been there, done that. You learn things from those games. But I don't necessarily know maybe at Bowles he needs it for his career to be validated, but I don't think at Ponte Vedra, I don't think Braddock at St. Augustine, I don't think they necessarily need a state championship. At a public school, you certainly don't, but I think at a private school, maybe a little different.
I'll tell you this, if it's not Toblin, other guys in the conversation, Donovan Maslin at Rains. We mentioned Brian Braddock, St. Augustine, Jamie Rogers, Bradford County. Maybe Toby Bullock was an assistant on the Mandarin team that won it. He's obviously now the head coach. And how about some love for Colin Drafts at Nice? I don't know if he'll be the next to win a state title, but they're up 14-3 on Tallahassee Lincoln right now.
Yeah, that's a good start for them. Jamie Rogers took Baker County to a state championship game. Before that, he took Sewanee to the state semifinals. He had a cup of coffee in Georgia, came back down here. He's now at Bradford and doing extremely well at Bradford. And their nemesis has been Cocoa. And can you get past Cocoa for a state championship? I think this is the year to do it if you can. But again, I think they're the guys who are getting these public school teams back there continuously, year after year after year, and playing deep into the postseason, playing for state titles. If you don't win it, yeah, it sucks, but it's just a different era. And public schools are not set up now to win state championships. It's the Bowleses and the Chaminades and those guys are set up to win it. So I don't necessarily know if it validates a career, but it certainly helps if you can get there and do it. Update from my writer at the Bowles Trinity game, or Bowles St. Augustine game, Naeem Burrows, 5 catches, 102 yards so far for the Clemson commit in just about 15 minutes of play. So, man, defense is optional tonight in the Varsity 4 game of the week. Why don't we check in with our photog, Chris Smith? Why don't we drop into that game real quick right now? Pass from Jaden Weatherly. And
nice, good timing.
Nice grab there down the sideline. Looked like Cam Teetsy on the catch there for Bowles. The offenses are cooking tonight for both of these
These
teams.
are two heavyweight boxers just throwing haymakers at one another.
It has been all offense, and with that throw, it's Bowles and Jaden Weatherly marching down the field again, looking like another touchdown possible here in the next few minutes. But, man, defense optional here in our Varsity 4 game of the week. Jaden Weatherly will stay with this game till the next play happens. Jaden Weatherly getting the guys up to the line of scrimmage and trying to get something else going. Remember, Xander Edwards had the touchdown on the last drive for Bowles, so it was on the ground, and he gets the carry here right now. Running behind the best offensive line in the area, and close to another first down.
You see big 55 right there, J.J. Sparks. He's on his way to Miami.
Yeah, Bowles' offensive line. Winner or loser in this game tonight, I don't think St. Augustine is going to see a better front than this, a better offensive front than this until late in the playoffs. They play a Choctaw or somebody from the Panhandle late in state semifinal time, in regional final time. So those boys tend to be big. The Tallahassee kind of guys, the Panhandle guys tend to have that the stigma of being the big monsters on the offensive line. Xander Edwards again running another first down, and Xander Edwards reminds me, and I said this to Toblin the other day, he reminds me of a big Cade Frew. He reminds me of a Cade Frew that's been just pumped up with more muscle. And I couldn't believe Cade Frew is almost about to graduate Air Force. I can't believe it. Time flies, man.
That is crazy.
It's unbelievable. Ball's knocking on the door again here.
Yeah, but stay with this and see if they can punch it in.
We drop back in, go back out to our photog, Chris Smith, as we've been fortunate to show you all 5 touchdowns so far on the stream. So 2 catches from Samori Wingo and a run for Brenton James for St. Aug, run for Xander Edwards, and looks Jaden Weatherly lucky to corral that one on the high snap. So he's going to take that down to probably the 2-yard line, and good for Jaden to kind of corral that one in. And we'll stay with this game until the next snap. Bowles knocking on the door, trying to tie this game at 21-all here midway through the second quarter. Hacker, it's been not a game of defense here.
No, and this is 4-down territory, I would think, because obviously St. Augustine's offense has had a lot of success early on in this game. Bowles knocking on the door, trying to tie this game at 21. I would think this is not field goal territory. You're going to try to get this in here.
Especially with this offensive line. I brought it up week 1 and also again tonight. When you got a big running back, big quarterback, Jay Weatherly's not a small kid, and you got that offensive line in front of you, and looks like,
the fumble? Wow.
Huge play from St. Aug. Huge play. St. Aug defensive comes up strong there, and that's just a bad play from Bowles. You can't drop back there. I think you got too cute and creative there and gave that one away. Wow. Disappointing there for Bowles not to be able to polish off that drive, and a great stand from St. Augustine. You're inside the 5-yard line, and you come away with nothing if you're Bowles. Wow. Big stand there for the Yellow Jackets, who have scored on all 3 drives, by the way.
Yeah, St. Augustine 21-14. They get the ball, and they will try to add to their lead here midway through the second quarter. With Justin Barney, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. It's Friday Night Lights on 4+. We are presented by Farah and Farah, coming back with a complete scoreboard update. And let's talk about some rivalries. Tallahassee-Lincoln is in town tonight. What about the history? Tallahassee schools versus schools in our area. We'll go over it next, right here, under the Friday Night Lights. The Friday Night Lights rolls on here on 4+, presented by Farah and Farah. And as always, this time of the night, it's time for our Superior Fence and Rail, where quality matters, scoreboard update. Of course, the game of the night going on San Jose Boulevard. St. Augustine 21-14 over Bowles. We'll get back out there in just a moment. But Justin, a lot of other good games going on. We talk about the Battle of Clay County in the second quarter. Oakleaf 10-0 over Fleming Island.
Yeah, not surprising there. I think you've got to expect Oakleaf, veteran team, experienced offense to hold court in that one. So I do think that's a sign of things to come. I think Oakleaf is is the best team in Clay County this year, and that's no disrespect to Middleburg or Fleming Island, anybody else. I just think Oakleaf is just that team.
You mentioned Clay County, Middleburg 7-0 over the Clay Blue Devils as well. A potential upset involving a Clay County team. I got Orange Park 10-0 over Riverside right now in the second quarter.
That's a little bit of a surprise. Last week, Oakleaf ran through Orange Park, so a little bit of a surprise to me that Orange Park is bouncing back. Riverside, wow, if they start 0-3, I know the backyard faithful are not going to be happy with that, especially with St. Aug going there next week.
University Christian had a tough loss last week to Bishop Kenny. They lost 21-20. They seem to have responded to that nicely. I got 28-0 UC over Jackson.
Yeah, not a surprise. Jackson just you played Kitbold City and then Ribault last week. So yes, a great start for the Tigers, but then you step up in competition. UC to me is probably one of the top 12 teams in our area. Really, really good team for D3 this year.
One of the better games that we haven't talked about yet. I thought it was interesting. I was talking to Steve Price, the head coach of Ponte Vedra, on the radio broadcast last week, and he said he had never been to a game at Baker County. I said, you're in for a treat, Coach. Ponte Vedra right now treating themselves to a 7-0 lead in the second quarter.
Yeah, Baker County, to me, they're the places in town in our region where you've got to really enjoy yourself on a Friday night where it's just different. You're away from kind of the big city lights. Baker County, Lake City, Columbia, it's just so different out there. Even Bradford's another one. The new facility out there at Bradford, new field is beautiful. So yeah, the smaller towns are just, there's nothing like it. Charlton County up in Georgia, I love it. They're playing Yulee. I think that's another good place to watch a game. Remember all the Derrick Henry highlights, the Hornets Nest on Friday nights, but just so many good, cool places to watch a game.
I remember 35 years I passed Bradford High School on the way to Gainesville for Gator football on Saturdays. It's right there on that road in Stark as you're heading to see the Gators play. And then maybe the biggest story of the night that's brewing outside of Bowles St. Augustine is what Nice is doing to Tallahassee Lincoln. Justin, I got 23-3 Nice over Lincoln in the second quarter.
Yeah, hey, it's a tribute, a testament to Colin Drafts, the offensive guys. Got the Pfeiffer cousins dialing things up there, Braden Felder, Vernon Stevens, all those guys on offense getting it done. And then, of course, you got the recently decommitted from Northwestern, Jacob Curry, leading that Panthers defense, and they are really, really good. They got a big game against St. Aug coming up in a few weeks.
And with that game tonight, let's kind of talk about the rivalry, the state capital, the Tallahassee teams against our area. My only playoff game at Wolfson High School, my junior year, we lost to Rickards in the playoffs in round number 1. And I'm actually from Tallahassee, so it was just a weird dynamic. I lived there until 5th grade. But what about Tallahassee versus Jacksonville? Those games are always a lot of fun.
Oh, man. Whether it's in football, basketball, Tallahassee-Jacksonville is very well documented. Even further out than that, when you're talking Panhandle, you go out to Tallahassee, you may as well drive out to Niceville, right? So the Panhandle, the Tallahassee-Jacksonville rivalry is well documented. You do get those games sometimes in the regular season, like we're seeing with Lincoln and Nice tonight, but always in the postseason, you see those matchups, be it in the bigger classes, smaller classes. I remember I went out to a state semifinal game, Nice, 2006 of line, and Nice just had an unbelievable game. James Wilson, one of the best offensive linemen I've ever seen. And just that game was back and forth, and Nice just ended up pulling away. But games like that, where you're out deep in the postseason, sometimes they play state championship games in Tallahassee too, so it just has that vibe.
North Florida Christian games back in the day, those were outstanding. We have Casey Weldon was the coach for some of those North Florida Christian teams.
I graduated from UC. My senior year I went there, and my coach was Tim Coakley, and he was also assistant coach on the UC football team. But he ended up coaching out at North Florida Christian and having a heck of a career, won multiple state championships at North Florida Christian. And it's funny because Steve Price ended up coming out from Tallahassee and NFC, and I told him about my Coakley connection. And Coakley was my geography teacher in first period, so for some of our grades, weekly grades, he would tell people to go out and get donuts for the class. So that tells you how much that UC kind of first period was back in the 90s.
Well, and I'll tell you this, too, about Tallahassee, not to give a thorough breakdown, but we know Lincoln's been good for a long time. But the other public schools in Tallahassee, I mean, Leon's had some moments. Rickards is normally pretty good. Childs has just never gotten their
Yeah.
footing because all their good players
Yeah.
go to Lincoln.
Heck of a volleyball team. Though.
Yes,
So-
they do. But I would expect, honestly, I'd expect more from Tallahassee outside of Lincoln, and we just haven't gotten it. Godby, I should
Right.
say Godby's pretty good as
Yeah,
well.
FAMU as well out there. The Florida, the high school, the DRS school out there. It's a smaller classification. Has had some good years, but yeah, it pocketed. You know, I think it was better, stronger in maybe the '90s and early 2000s than it is now. But yeah, you're right. It's been tilted towards Lincoln for many years.
Let's go back and take another live look in out on San Jose Boulevard. The game of the night, the Channel 4 game of the night is St. Augustine and Bolles. St. Augustine 21-14. Bolles was driving, turned it over inside the St. Augustine 10-yard line. I think St. Augustine was able to move the ball a little bit, Justin. Maybe some field position has been flipped, but St. Augustine still holding on to a touchdown lead late in the second quarter.
Yeah, Bolles is going to kick itself for not capitalizing on that last drive. Jaden Weatherly and company made it all the way down to the 3 before Bo Medlock had the strip sack and denied Bolles an opportunity to tie the game right now. So 21-14 still in this game. We do a live look in with our photog Chris Smith out at our game of the week, and beautiful scene setter right there. Big crowd on the Bolles side and a sun going down, and what a beautiful shot right there as you're looking at the home side on the Bolles Skinner Barco out there. 4:56 left to go in the half of our game of the week, and man, it has been offensive explosion. Although some defense starting to perk its head up here in the second quarter.
Yeah, that was a big time play by St. Augustine. We will certainly keep you updated on this game. Again, Yellow Jackets 21-14 over the Bolles Bulldogs. About 5 minutes to go in the first half. We are at halftime under the Friday Night Lights here on 4+, presented by Farah and Farah. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. Coming up next, a complete scoreboard update. And we spent a lot of time tonight on the better teams so far in Northeast Florida in 2025. What about some of the teams that have struggled out of the gate? And some teams that have struggled out of the gate that have been historically good. Why is this happening to them? That's next under the Friday Night Lights. Back here under the Friday Night Lights on 4 Plus, presented by Farah and Farah. Let's go back to San Jose Boulevard, take a live look in. There at St. Augustine and Bowles. Justin, we had some movement in this game. Quarterback Brenton James of St. Augustine, well, quite frankly, he's going nuts. 3 passing touchdowns and now a rushing touchdown, and the Yellow Jackets have doubled up Bowles right now, 28-14.
Yeah, surprise. That was a 53-yard touchdown pass to Trendell Anderson. And
look at there.
Well, defense optional. We're talking about Brenton James, who threw a 53-yard touchdown pass to Trendell Anderson while we were at break. We come back out to Chris Smith. He frames it up perfectly, and you got Xander Edwards breaking off a touchdown run that was about 65 yards. And defensive coordinators may not be back on the field after halftime for this one.
I don't know if
it's
great offense, bad defense, a combination of both. I'll tell you this, though. You guys picked the right game for the Channel 4 game of the week.
It was an easy one. Hey, back to Brenton James. Last week it was 14 of 15 passing. Tonight he is on target. He's missed 2 passes tonight. He is up to 10 touchdown passes, no interceptions this season.
Wow.
Really, really good start for the junior quarterback. He got a rushing touchdown tonight as well. So Trendell Anderson with that 53-yard touchdown for Brenton's 3rd touchdown pass of the half. Of course, Brenton has the rushing touchdown as well, so he's accounted for all 28 of their points. Xander Edwards with that big touchdown run, 69-yard touchdown run from our reporter out at the game. So Xander Edwards, 2 touchdown rushes tonight for the Bowles Bulldogs, and man, we are not even at halftime yet.
And you see the frustration on the defensive side of St. Augustine. I imagine it's very similar for Bowles. These are 2 proud programs. Again, as great as these offenses have been, these 2 teams pride themselves in defense. You know, Justin, they get in the halftime locker room, there's going to be some conversations had.
Yeah, I saw St. Augustine assistant coach Joey Lippo, the offensive lineman. There's Brandon James right down in the corner, bottom corner of your screen. Joey Lippo not happy with what he has seen from some of those guys on the defensive front. So Joey and Brandon both played there. So did Brian Braddock as well. So a lot of St. Augustine alums on this coaching staff, and they're not happy with what's happened on the defensive side of the ball. Although the previous drive ended with a St. Augustine fumble recovery at the 3, so Bowles punches that in there. We are with a tie game. Xander Edwards, 12 carries, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's averaging about 12 yards a rush behind that big offensive line. So, man, both of these offenses just going crazy. If you started Xander Edwards and you started Brenton James in fantasy this week, you are winning. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, St. Augustine 28-21. We'll check back in on this game in just a moment. These 2 teams are at the highest of highs right now in our area as far as where their programs are. Justin, there was a time when Sandalwood certainly, and let's focus on Sandalwood right now to start. Back when Adam Geis was there, back when his father was there, Sandalwood, perennial playoff team. I played against them at Wolfson all 4 years. They destroyed us all 4 years that I played against them. And for whatever reason now, boy, Sandalwood has really taken a step back. 77-0. They lost last week to Rains. They're down big to Mandarin tonight. In Sandalwood's situation, what exactly has gone wrong there?
I think even before Adam Geis was there, he was there in 2 stints and did really well. And even before that, you had Bob Withrow at Sandalwood, led Sandalwood to a state championship game appearance behind Mr. Football Frankie Franklin back in the day in the mid-'90s. Lost to Miami Northwestern, I think, off the top of my head, like 12-7 in the state championship game. Really, really good history at Sandalwood. The Woodshed. I saw Andre Ellis from Duval Sports down on the sideline of that Bowles game. He played at Sandalwood. He knows the tradition there. So much tradition and history at Sandalwood, and then the last 3.5 years, it has been just stinkfest. It is no other way to say it. When you've got other schools in town that open up and take some of the talent, Atlantic Coast opened up and took a little bit of Manor, took a little bit of Sandalwood. So the table was set early on, I guess 2010, 11. You lost a little student body there, but Sandalwood kind of kept it rolling. If you remember, they had a couple of ESPN games. They played on DeLand against an ESPN U game on a Thursday night.
They had DeMarcus Walker.
Yeah, DeMarcus Walker. Really, really good guys on that team. But once that well started running dry and kids started going to other schools, you lose a lot of that. You know, you mentioned earlier, biggest school in Jacksonville, and when you start losing the student population, kids and their parents aren't stupid. Kids and their parents are going to follow the bag, as they say, so to speak. And when Adam Geis was there, and DeMarcus Walker was there, Rusty Smith, Parker Boehm, I mean, the list goes on, Chris Payton-Jones, everybody at Sandalwood, yeah, you want to play there. Jeff Sims, it was a great opportunity for exposure. And when you start losing games and those players start going elsewhere, you saw the same thing at First Coast.
Yeah.
First Coast was the place to be in Duval County for probably 6 or 7 years, and people went there. And Sandalwood is the same thing. You went there. I mean, Adam Geis, until his last few years, he was churning out 4 and 5 stars all the time. And when you start losing games and you don't have that cachet of playing with an elite quarterback or DeMarcus Walker kind of guy, you're just not going to go there. And the parents and the kids follow the bag, so to speak. And the bag hasn't been at Sandalwood in quite some time.
Now, Sandalwood and First Coast, 5-10 years ago, we would have never thought that they were struggling the way they were.
Yep.
I mean, is this something that we might start seeing more and more with the emergence of everything going on in the high school landscape?
Absolutely.
We see Bartram Trail might be 0-3 after tonight. Trinity Christian may be 0-3 after tonight. Again, 10 years ago, you would have never thought Sandalwood would be in the situation that they are. Could this be the first of many schools that kind of fall from grace?
I think so. I think with open enrollment, what it's done in Florida is you've created the haves and the have-nots. And I remember having this discussion with Adam Geis years ago. What you did when you took the barriers down and you allowed kids to just freely transfer anywhere in the state of Florida, well, yeah, it's great for school choice and parents and all that to have those options. But from a football or volleyball or baseball standpoint, the kids are going to transfer to wherever the best situation is. And you're going to create the haves and the have-nots. And what that has done, the haves and the have-nots have always existed. It's class, it's whatever. But in football, you've created, the haves and the have-nots, and you've taken it and made that chasm so much more wider than it's ever been, where you've got, in Duval County, you've got 2 really, really good teams, Mandarin and Rains. Yes. Everybody else, Fletcher and White are in that second corridor, and then it's everybody else. And that is only going to continue to get wider and wider and wider in some of these school districts. And I think open enrollment is a big thing of that. And I think it's allowed those powerhouse schools in other areas of state to even get stronger and stronger and stronger.
By the way, a couple of scores to update you on along those lines. We talk about Trinity. They're down 28-7 to Rains. Trinity staring at an 0-3 start. Fleming Island now trails Oakleaf 17-0 in the battle for Clay County. And Nice has added a field goal. They lead Tallahassee Lincoln 26-3 out there in what I imagine is a very festive Nice High School in St. Johns County.
Man, Nice is getting it done. Now, there's nothing like 2 county teams playing, so Tallahassee Lincoln's a little bit out of the county realm, but it's still Nice football. When Nice football is good, Nice is almost like, to me, like a small college now. How big that campus has gotten. And when football is cooking out there, I covered the Tebow years and saw how back what Colin Drafts has built over there is really, really starting to grow in that community and see that success.
Let's talk about some of the better environments in Northeast Florida, the best places to go to watch a game under the Friday night lights. We'll also go back to a live look-in on Bowles and St. Augustine in just a moment. He is Justin Barney. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. This is Friday Night Lights on 4+. We are presented by Farah and Farah, and we are glad you are spending your Friday evening with us. Back here under the Friday Night Lights on 4+, Ryan the Hacker Green along with Justin Barney of Channel 4. Let's head back out to Skinner Barco Stadium for the Channel 4 Game of the Week. Approaching halftime, St. Augustine, Justin, 28-21, but Bolles looking to do a little damage as we head into the half.
Yeah, Jaden Weatherly just hit Cam Teetsy, and they are driving to get in scoring position. Weatherly can move. He's a big boy back there, but he has got some speed and athleticism. He is trying to get things done with his feet. He's got a few rushing touchdowns this year as well. How many seconds left to go before half? We are under 30 seconds before the break in this one as we get down. Oh, yeah, 8 seconds left to go before halftime.
You get one ball into the end zone, and if you don't complete it, then you got to figure out if you want to take the points or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably take the points in this game. Bolles was knocking on the door. I think you go for the end zone here, and if you don't get it, you go for the 3 in a game like this. We're going to stay with this game until they come back. Probably chance for one play here, and then the field goal if it comes to that. And I think you got to take the points if you're Matt Toblin after getting stopped down there before. The St. Augustine defense, like the Bolles defense, has shown susceptibility tonight to just about anything. St. Augustine on the ground and Bolles through the air, both having struggles there, defending up close. St. Aug got that line of scrimmage. Hey, I may even try to run with Xander Edwards here with that success that Bolles has had, but 8 seconds to go.
You got to do it quick here, too. You can't take too much time. 8 seconds is enough time if you don't dilly-dally around.
And St. Aug calling a timeout again. So,
well, you know, it's interesting is we were going to talk about the best environments in Northeast Florida. I'm just looking at the Channel 4 Game of the Week here at Skinner Barco Stadium. You would talk about one of the better environments in Northeast Florida. You're looking at it right there. I mean, look at that crowd tonight at the Bolles School.
It's already thinned out quite a bit, too, from the crowd we saw earlier of the Bolles student section, and it's a familiar spot there. And it's thinned out towards halftime. I'm sure people getting some concessions, running out of the car, doing whatever. But St. Augustine sideline crowd is thinned out a little bit, too. Those crowds, big crowd for both sides tonight. I'm sure it'll be packed again after halftime. And this one has been really, really good so far. 28-21. No shortage of offense and big plays in this game. I think I predicted a game and like a 34-28 kind of final in this one, but man, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't see a defensive battle in the second half, and you can tell what St. Augustine and their coaching staff, how important this play is, calling that extra timeout, trying to get their defenses aligned. You talk about momentum for Bolles going in with a touchdown, or a giant momentum swing for St. Augustine if they keep them out of the end zone.
Yeah, you've got to feel that Bolles 2 times in the red zone to come away with nothing if you hold them here is pretty darn good for that St. Augustine defense. Naeem Burrows, and that is knocked away.
Interference. Now you got a decision to make.
Flag on the play, and you're going to probably get that down inside the 5-yard line.
I think they put it at 2, right?
Yeah, this is going to go against St. Augustine on that play. Probably a pass interference on the defensive back who was covering Naeem Burrows, but hey, call the flag, or I'd rather you maul the guy.
One play, there's like 3 seconds to go. Do you take the points or do you go for the touchdown?
You're right down here, 4 seconds to play. I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to give it to Xander Edwards and right up the gut. But hey, they're going for 3 instead. How about that?
I think it's a sensible thing to do because it would be hard to stomach being inside the 10.
Great from St. Augustine, and you got a flag right there, so we'll see what happens.
I think that was a horse collar issue.
So Bolles gets down to the St. Augustine red zone twice and comes away with nothing. If they're going to call this,
I would think it's a horse collar, and then St. Augustine probably just takes a knee and goes into the half. A very happy St. Augustine club going into the half.
Great from St. Augustine. If you're a St. Augustine fan, you like what you've seen in this first half on 2 plays. One was the blocked field goal there at the end of the half to get you into 28-21. The other was the strip sack and fumble recovery when Bolles was at the 3-yard line before. So not a lot of defensive plays, not a lot of special teams plays, but the 2 biggest ones have gone in St. Augustine's favor.
So St. Augustine, a 28-21 lead at the half. We'll head back out to Skinner Barco Stadium for second half action in just a bit. But that go ahead and tease up our thoughts about the best environments in high school football. You see Skinner Barco right there. You know, the go-to, Justin, whenever somebody asks me this, is always Baker County. And we talked about it earlier. You mentioned Bradford County and Lake City, Columbia as well. In our Jacksonville metropolitan area, how would you assess the better environments in high school football?
Oh, man, Fletcher's a great one to go to. I love being out at the beach. It's just something about Mandarin at the Corral on Friday night when they're really, really good, which they are this year. St. Augustine down at Foots Brumley on a Friday night is a fantastic environment to be in. You know, Sandalwood, the old Woodshed days when they had some really good teams, that was a fun place to be in as well. But Bowles, when Bowles fan base comes out and supports really well. The St. Johns County teams, Nice, Barsham Trail, Creekside, all fantastic environments. Even Ponte Vedra, it's a tough place to get to. One way in and one way out of that gate. But Ponte Vedra is another good place to watch. So really, really good environments.
I'll tell you one, spectacular out there.
Yeah, especially when it comes to, I know they don't play the Reebok game, but a playoff game at Range.
I know we're going to check in on Jackson University Christian in a bit out at Jackson High School. There was a time where 48th and Main was the place to be on a Friday night when Leon Washington was doing his thing. And really, when Pup Howard was there a couple of years ago, they kind of University Christian. But I've always enjoyed watching games out at Jackson as well.
Yeah, and I go back to the time, remember I covered a playoff game at Jackson. Menendez's first trip to the playoffs, they played at Andrew Jackson. I can't remember the year, 2009, 2010. Jackson whopped them pretty good. But that environment, that time during Kevin's fun atmosphere, to me, there are select areas in town, you feel that now, still kind of feel that excitement vibe, but it's getting leaner and leaner, for sure. It's getting far more difficult to find that environment.
And I always tell people, what we do, you and I combined have been doing high school football for decades. Yeah. You on the newspaper, print, now the TV side, myself on the radio. I always tell people, just take one Friday night during the fall. If you don't want to go every Friday night, I get it. But take one Friday night and go to a local high school game, and you will not regret it because it is a terrific, terrific thing. And you're seeing the stars of tomorrow performing under the Friday night lights.
Yeah, let's take a look in real quick. Alessandra's out at Main Street right now for the University Christian Jackson game. Tigers just got into the end zone for the first time tonight and trying to mount a second half comeback against University Christian. Taking UC, gonna kick to UC after that quick touchdown. So Jackson's a little bit of life here. There's going to be no shutout on Main Street tonight. So we'll see if UC can match that score. They were at 31-0 at halftime, but Jackson on the scoreboard now, getting ready to kick off to UC, and probably too big of a deficit right now for the Tigers to overcome. But a good bounce back night tonight for University Christian and David Penland III. After a 1-point loss last week on a blocked PAT at Bishop Kenny.
Well, and it was even worse than that because I was wondering how UC was going to respond. UC had the game won.
Yeah,
they went for two, and they would have walked in, but there was a false start. The whistle blew literally as the ball was snapped, so you had to back it up to the 8-yard line. UC then decided to kick an extra point with 15 seconds to go, and as you said, Bishop Kenny blocked it for a 21-20 victory.
Yeah, unbelievable. UC with a nice return off that kickoff right there. Going to be in good field position to get something going here on Main Street. And yeah, it's so cyclical. I mean, I've been out to Lake City to watch games during Columbia's heyday run, saw Laramie Tunsil play out there, and just so exciting to go to the smaller towns on Friday nights and how things have changed. When I worked at the Times Union, we had a news reporter there who had never been to a high school football game. He was going to cover Raines during their state championship season. So we embedded him with Raines for most of the year, and he went to the Raines Bowls game on a Friday night, and it was just such a wild atmosphere. And he came to me after the game and said, man, how do you do this every Friday night? He was so jacked and so pumped up that what he had just witnessed, to be out there and to see that environment and stuff. And I'm like, man, I got to go back and write my story. I got to go back and put our section together. We got to go back and do scores. So our night's just starting right now. But he, not being from a sports background, got to experience a little bit of that and how exciting that was, and the atmosphere at Raines Bowls during those 2010 years were just unbelievable. And he was just like, man, how do you do? I'm so pumped up right now, what I just saw. How do you guys do that? But yeah, to your point, get out there on a Friday night, go out and do it and take that in.
There's no question in this game we're looking at right now, University Christian and Jackson, as we mentioned earlier, two state championship winning head coaches going at it. Probably can't say that about many games in the state of Florida tonight, but Bobby Ramsey, a state title ring on his finger, the coach at Jackson now, and of course David Penland, numerous state championship rings on his finger. Really nice coaching matchup this evening.
Yeah, three championships and 5 championship games appearances for D3 over there at UC, and he is a UC lifer. At UC, he was a ball boy back in the day at UC on some of those state championship teams. He's grown up there. Dad coached there. Family taught there, kids go there, so he is truly a UC lifer and has carried on that UC tradition. Got UC, his alma mater, to 9 state championships, so UC and Trinity Christian. You know, we're really fortunate. Our area is home to the 3 of the most successful high school football teams in state history, and saying that in Florida. Bolles has got 11 titles, UC and Trinity both have 9, so when you've got 3 teams that combine 29 state championships, that's pretty darn impressive, and a bunch of those have been won all by the same men. Corky Rogers won 10 at Bolles. Verlin's got 9 at Trinity. Robbie Pruitt at University Christian had a bunch of those. David Penland III has got 3 of them. So a lot of the men are responsible. A lot of individual guys are responsible for all those state championships. Really, truly remarkable.
We'll come back with a complete scoreboard update. The 6:30 games that started in Duval County are starting to get into the 4th quarter. We got some really good games entering the second half. And again, once we go back live to Bolles and St. Augustine, they're in the half right now. St. Augustine 28-21. That is the Channel 4 game of the week. With Justin Barney, the hacker Ryan Green with you. We're under the Friday Night Lights on 4+. We're presented by Farah and Farah, and we are glad you are spending part of your Friday evening with us.
Time for another look at the high school scoreboard, brought to you by Superior Fence and Rail, where quality matters.
Here under the Friday Night Lights on 4 Plus with Justin Barney, the hacker Ryan Green with you. Justin, let's take a look at some of the scores rolling in. One game we haven't talked a lot about, a battle of unbeatens, Bishop Kenny and Toccoa Creek. All Bishop Kenny, 28-0 right now, as BK, boy, looking really good tonight.
Caleb Madison is the real deal, a big running back, junior. He had a big game last week against University Christian, and he is one of the better backs in our area. I put him.
Tallahassee Lincoln, again, not surprised Nice is winning that game. 26-3 is a little bit surprising considering Lincoln's coming off wins against Niceville and Madison County in their first 2 weeks.
Yeah, very, very.
Providence 14-12 over Palatka. That surprised you at all?
A little bit, yeah. I think I predicted Palatka to win that game, so probably my worst prediction of all time came last week when I predicted Providence beat Carrollwood Day, and Carrollwood Day won like 62-0. So that was a swing and a miss on that one. Why don't we drop in real quick to the University Christian Jackson game? UC knocking on the door here. They just about got in, but we are going to go live to this game right now. And UC is in the end zone.
There you go.
And touchdown pass. Oh, I like the celebration here. How about that?
Guys getting after it in the end zone. Well deserved.
UC is, man, they are putting up a number on Jackson. Pending the PAT, it's going to be 38-6. Nice touchdown there from University Christian. They are celebrating. 2:31 left to go in the third quarter, and University Christian is pulling away, about to end Jackson's best start since 2009. So UC, I think they're fully recovered from that loss last week.
Yeah, again, a heartbreaker last week, but they have come out and they have dominated Jackson tonight out there on Main Street, about to go up 38-6 pending this extra point. Out in Clay County, 17-0 Oakleaf over Fleming Island. Justin, a battle of unbeatens out there. Looks like Oakleaf is on their way to 3-0, barring a pretty big comeback.
Yeah, I think Fleming Island just didn't have the offense in that game. Very younger and inexperienced team, so not surprising at all. Really impressed to see Oakleaf's defense, which has been getting it done week after week. So a big test tonight for them, but they are looking to win their fourth in a row in that series.
Now, I don't know if you have anybody up at Camden County that can confirm this, but I have in the second quarter Camden County 14-13 over Ribault.
Wow, that is a little bit of a surprise. I had picked a blowout in that game, and after we saw Ribault last week struggle to get 12 points against Jackson, they were down some players after they had some ejections in week one against Fletcher. But hey, give Mike Hunter and staff, the Trojans, credit for banging up there in Camden County, an unbeaten Camden County. One tough place to play is up there in Kingsland, especially when you're like a paycheck game to those guys, yeah. And you're going up there and banging with the Wildcats, see if they can hold that. They're in the second quarter, not even a halftime up there. Is a 7:30 kick. So we'll see if the Trojans can keep that going. Impressive start, though. Again,
much like Nice Lincoln, I'm not surprised that Rains is beating Trinity, but I have 36-7 Rains over Trinity Christian right now.
Jamal just texted and said TJ Cole had a rushing touchdown, so our reigning offensive player of the year widens that gap. And good to see TJ playing a little bit later in that game, because TJ was done after about 12 and a half minutes of last week's game. He had 5 touchdown passes in what felt like the blink of an eye and a yawn against Sandalwood. Menendez is good. Anthony Rivers, former assistant at Ponte Vedra. Menendez is good. Anthony Rivers, former assistant at Ponte Vedra. He had a really good debut season last year for the Falcons. And Menendez has got some ballers. Luke Harmon is really good down there. He's one of the main guys, but really good. Menendez is right on the cusp of St. John's and Flagler County, so people kind of tend to forget about them, but they're a good program. They're a good program.
A team that's under the radar, Fletcher, again, not a lot of talk early in the year, just going about their business. 21-0 tonight, they lead Atlantic Coast.
Not a surprise, and you gotta put up a number in a game like that. If you gotta smash the teams that you're supposed to beat. You gotta hammer those guys and make a statement. And Seatric Faison and the Senators trying to make a statement in that game. Atlantic Coast scored 16 against Mandarin last week, so good sign for the Fletcher defense. Elijah Keys, I keep bringing his name up. 3 picks in week one against Ribault, so they've got a good defense.
I went to 2 different scoreboards to make sure this is correct. They are on both scoreboards. I got Ponte Vedra 28-0 over Baker County in the third quarter at Baker County.
Yeah, Baker County is younger, rebuilding a little bit. I was surprised they won last week, but Coach Kennedy is trying to get those guys back in the winning ways. So we'll see if he can do that. But again, I saw them playing the spring game against Creekside, and they were really, really young. So not surprising. I think it's surprising to me that Ponte Vedra got drummed as bad as they did in week one by Nice. But Rosendahl is dialing it up. And I think it just took them a couple games to get under their belt. A lot of new guys at Ponte Vedra.
You look at what Ponte Vedra did to Bartram Trail last week, what they're doing to Baker County tonight, and what Nice did to them in week one. I think Nice is pretty much validating what they're doing to Lincoln right now. Nice might be really, really good.
I think Nice is really, really good. And kicking myself for taking them out of my rankings after that preseason game when I really should have probably left them in because they're really, really good.
Quickly, I don't know if this may be the upset of the night brewing, but it's a pretty big one. Orange Park, 16-7 over Riverside.
Yeah, and if Riverside loses that game, I think there are going to be plenty of disgruntled Generals fans. You can't start out 0-3. Again, you got St. Augustine coming to the backyard next week. We've seen what St. Augustine has done with Bowles tonight, put up 28.5. So, yeah, you've got to win that game. You cannot lose that game if you're Riverside. People expect more. Riverside expects more.
And then finally, a couple of teams. Well, Yulee is very close, but Bradford a little bit outside the area. They're down to South Sumter. 6-0 is what I have at halftime. Charlton County and Yulee, that's a big one out there. That's southeast Georgia.
Right.
That's northeast Florida. That's a big rivalry. Charlton County up 12-7 at the half.
Yeah, I picked Charlton in that game. Yulee started out 2-0 for the first time in quite some time, matched their win total from last year already. But I do think it's been against lighter competition. Picked Charlton in that game. And again, Charlton is another very proud small school. Champ Bailey went there, Pro Football Hall of Famer. Boss Bailey, all the Bailey guys went there. So Charlton County is a really, really proud small school program. And that's just such a natural rivalry, Charlton and Yulee. I mean, you're about 20 minutes away from each other. Really good rivalry.
Let's go back out to Main Street. University Christian and Jackson have started again, 37-6. UC well in control of this game towards the end of the third quarter. Although Jackson looks like they're moving it a little bit, trying to put a ball in the end zone, Justin.
Yeah, Jackson moving the ball a little bit. And we've seen some signs of life in the second half by Andrew Jackson, trying desperately to claw back out of a 37-6 deficit, trying to get to 3-0 for the first time since 2009. One of the Kevin Sullivan, local area coaching legend, one of his final seasons over there on Main Street, but a long road ahead. Speaking of coaching legends, Marty Lee, like to wish him a happy birthday tonight. Old First Coast coaching legend, celebrating it with his wife tonight. I'm going to get Marty on the show some point this year.
Yeah, he's on with me every week on the radio.
Yeah, so happy birthday to Marty Lee, longtime First Coast coach, still the athletic director there. Really good guy. And
one of the great characters in high school football in Northeast Florida.
Marty, I mentioned Brian Allen earlier, kind of shooting straight with you. Marty's the same way. He will shoot straight with you, be it politically correct, be it kind of how he feels, whatever. He's been around that long. He's seen a lot of crazy stuff. And happy birthday, it's old Marty Lee.
I always tell Marty this. Remember those three-team playoff scenarios? I was in one of those at Wolfson my junior year of 01. It was us, Parker, and First Coast. And Marty Lee was the coach at First Coast when we had one of those three-team playoff scenarios to decide which two would represent the district in the playoffs.
Yeah, those old Kansas tiebreakers. And glad they did away with it.
Yeah, it was interesting.
You have to, for people not familiar with that, they bring out the whole teams and everybody, and you play it one quarter.
Play one quarter.
One quarter.
In our situation, we lost to Parker in a heartbreaking fashion in the first quarter, and then we had to wait an entire second quarter, and then our season was on the line in the third quarter where we had to play First Coast. It was a crazy scenario.
Crazy, and the last one of those I saw was at Bishop Kenny. I want to say it was Westside, Bishop Kenny, and Ribault in a district tiebreaker, one of those Kansas tiebreakers back in the day, and it's just so crazy. Westside ended up getting in, and just really, really crazy scenario how you had to. And I think the Westside Ribault game ended up going to like overtime.
Yeah.
So you played one quarter and then overtime for the Kansas tiebreaker. It was just so crazy to think that's how, even as recently as probably 10 years ago, those Kansas tiebreakers still existed.
It was cool to participate in one, but looking back at it, it is a wild deal how they decided playoff teams. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on this week's edition of the Friday Night Lights on 4 Plus, presented by Farah and Farah. We'll give our final thoughts. We'll preview the Channel 4 TV show tonight. We'll do the 1010XL radio program as well. I'll be heading over to the radio station in just a bit for our version of Friday Night Lights. And we will hopefully take a live look into second half action of Bolles and St. Augustine, the Channel 4 game of the night, heading to the third quarter with St. Augustine leading 28-21. With Justin Barney, the hacker Ryan Green with you under the Friday Night Lights. Final segment of the Friday Night Lights on 4 Plus, presented by Farrah and Farrah with Justin Barney, the hacker Ryan Green with you. Justin, it's been a fun night. Bowls, St. Augustine, second half action has begun at Skinner Barco Stadium off of San Jose Boulevard. Let's take a live look into St. Augustine and to Bowls, the Channel 4 game of the night. St. Augustine 28-21 now, early in the third quarter.
Yeah, and just to kind of recap, furious offensive starts for both teams, and really the story of the game has been those two drives that Bowls could not get into the end zone or get one through the uprights. Bowls had a field goal block to the end of the half and then had a strip sack when they were going in to score from the 3, and those have been really the differences. That's 10 points you leave on the field if you're Bowls, and man, St. Augustine has played a great game so far offensively, and those two big plays on defense have been really the ones to kind of stand out for me after everything.
Yeah, there's no doubt, obviously, both teams really want this game, but you got to think that this game in particular is going to help both teams as they get deeper into the season.
Yeah, and I think that's why you play the games, and talking to Matt Toblin and Josh Hoekstra out at practice this week, they both said the same thing. This is going to make both of our teams better, win or lose, and I think that's what you need to. And in St. Augustine's case and in Bowles' case as well, you have some weaker district competition that you have to play. So those weeks, the fluff weeks, where you're really not getting tested and you're kind of emptying the benches a little bit, it's good to have these games as kind of a fail-safe in a way to kind of prepare you for really some of these lean weeks. I mean, Bowles, what they see in the third round of the playoffs is going to resemble something they're seeing tonight, and same thing for St. Augustine as well. So I think it's a win-win for both teams.
When we hit the airwaves 2 hours ago, we talked about this being the best Friday night on paper. Thankfully, Bowles and St. Augustine is living up to that with a great game. The other games we mentioned are blowouts, right? Ponte Vedra 28-3 over Baker County. Oakleaf 24-0 over Fleming. Rains 36-7 over Trinity Christian. You got Nice 26-3 over Tallahassee Lincoln. Are you surprised that other than Bowles, St. Augustine, we got blowout city?
A little bit. Some of the games that are a little bit wider gaps than I expected. That last defensive play there, Asher Gitto, a sack on Brenton James. So a big play by the Bowles defense. But yeah, I'm a little surprised at the wide margins in some of these, and also games like Ware County and Bartram. I expected the Gators to be rolling over Bartram, but it's only 14-7 in the fourth quarter of that game, Ware County. So yes, some wide margins in games, but some other ones too that are a little closer than expected.
One team we haven't talked about tonight, they were actually off last week, which was interesting. Ed White beats Trinity Christian week 1, has a bye week in week 2. They're all over West Side tonight, 46-0. That game's getting near the conclusion in the fourth quarter. Ed White comfortably going to 2-0. Ed White looks like they have a good team this year.
Yeah, really, and I've talked about it with you before, be it on here or on your radio show. Ed White and Trinity Christian were very similar to me, very young, both last year and in a sense this year as well. And they learned a lot last year. Ed White was an 8-win team last year, went 2 rounds deep into the playoffs. And not surprising that they beat Trinity, just because I think they were well prepared for this season by just what they did last year. And I think Trinity is in the same situation, even though they're going to fall to 0-3 tonight after this loss to Rains. They're down big time in that game. But you've got a pretty long runway for the rest of the season, 7 games. I think you win those 7 games, and you're probably banging away for a spot in the state semifinals like you had last year.
Positive or negative, whichever way you want to take it, when you look at the scoreboard almost at 9 o'clock here, what has stuck out to you about week 3 under the Friday Night Lights?
I think a game like Nice, impressive for the Panthers. 33-10 right now over Lincoln. To me, that was almost like a quasi playoff game type of test so far for Nice here in week 3, and they have answered that resoundingly, that they are ready for the challenge. I think St. Augustine, the offensive success they had early on against the Bowles was a little bit of a surprise to me. It really kind of jumped off the page. And other games around the area, I mean, Menendez and Beachside banging with each other. Ribault staying with Camden County for a quarter and a half, a little bit of a surprise. So a good week of football, and it's not quite over yet.
No, it's not. Actually, we have one final in the area. It's already in. Williston, a 49-7 winner tonight over Paxson. Interesting game for Paxson to put on their schedule.
Man, I can't believe that. Hey, kudos to Steve Brown. You're wanting to win an SSAA, a Sunshine State Athletic Association state championship. You think you've got the team to get down there and do it. Take a flyer and put a Williston on the schedule. Williston's a dang good team, and I was stunned that Paxton put Williston on the schedule, coached by a Hall of Famer in 2 states, Mr. Robbie Pruitt, who won an unbelievable amount of state championships in Florida. He won 3 in a row at Union County, and then he won quite a few at, I think, 4 at University Christian, or 5 at University Christian. So legend there at Williston. So very surprised to see Williston come up and play Paxton, but that was just a lot for the Golden Eagles to work with tonight.
You will obviously be recapping all the action from around the area, including Bowles St. Augustine, the Channel 4 game of the night. I'll be on the radio side on 1010XL after the Bowles broadcast goes final. We're airing Bowles and St. Augustine on 1010 a.m. Based on what you've seen right now, put your Nostradamus hat on. What do you think for about an hour from now? Who's going to win this game?
Man, I picked Bowles, so I'm going to stick with Bowles. I think there's a play or two in the fourth quarter that goes the Bulldogs' way. But, man, you can't discredit St. Augustine. They played well. Brenton James has looked maybe better than people expected him to look. He's up to 10 touchdown passes on the season, no interceptions, a rushing touchdown as well. So I think Bowles finds a way to win this game. Would not be surprised to see St. Augustine win it, but I think Bowles probably finds a way to win this game.
As we talked about, it's 2 heavyweight fighters just throwing haymakers at one another. We talked about it being one of the best games, not only in the area, but in the state of Florida tonight, and Bowles and St. Augustine is certainly living up to that. Tell us what you have coming up on the TV side on Channel 4.
Yeah, we got shooters out at all of our games. I'll have highlights from probably 13, 14 games tonight at 10:30. That's on be on the same stream you're watching now, News4Jax Plus, or on the TV side on Channel 4. So make sure you stick with that. We'll update our Super 10. We'll talk about next week's game of the week. All kinds of stuff coming up in our football show, and then you can find everything we're doing tonight on Sports4Jax on our Instagram or News4Jax.com. We've got you covered. If you don't come to a website or watch TV, we'll have all that stuff on social media too.
Yeah, and very similar. I'll head over to the radio station at 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We'll have the Friday Night Lights broadcast coming up probably about 9:30, 9:45 this evening. Victoria's head coaches from all over Northeast Florida in what hopefully is the beginning of a great weekend of football. A whole day of college football tomorrow. And then, of course, the Jaguars kick their season off on Sunday. I know you guys at Channel 4 have all sorts of coverage.
Yeah, crazy. We got a tailgate, so we'll be out there at 11 in the morning in the slab, and that'll be on News4Jax Plus as well. Obviously, also on our Channel 4 TV side as well. So Jamal and Alessandra will be anchoring that, and I'll be out roaming and maybe playing some Jenga with some fans and tailgating. So so cool to be out there amongst the fans. We did it at the Miller Electric Center last year, but something about being amongst the people in week 1, and you can't lose to Carolina.
No,
you can't lose to Carolina.
I said this last night. If you had to handpick an opponent for week 1 that gives the Jaguars a best chance to go 1-0, Carolina would have been in the top 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think they win big this week. I think they have a big defensive game and kind of start scrubbing the residue away from last year's forgettable season.
That is Justin Barney of Channel 4. Check his high school coverage out all night long. I'm the hacker Ryan Green of 1010. I feel like our best show.